And spawning up to the top northern position here as our blue Terran, we have Mr. Fnatic Recall aLive, looking to take it back to 2-1.
Now, I actually want to ask your opinions on this map in the TVZ matchup, because it's one of those maps that has a huge amount of stagnant play. It's probably one of the most stagnant TVZ maps ever. It's 3 base, straight to Hive, Infestor Ling.
Yeah.
The Terran generally goes 3 base, big 2-2 pushes, trying to win with 3-3. It just seems nearly impossible to get a 4th base. I mean, do you think that there's this sort of variety of experimentation that we've been talking about available on this map?
I think that, on this map, you're right, you still do see that stagnation really coming into play. And it's only once somebody's gained a lead that is really hard for your opponent to come back on. You see that 4th being taken to then. But I mean, some Zergs do try and take the 4ths down to, say, for example, where Golden's spawning now to the left of his base by bringing down those rocks and exploiting a highly mobile mid-game. But still, Terrans, the way they've been opening, the way they've been utilizing Hellions, etc., etc., it's a good way to start shutting that kind of play down. So I think we may end up seeing stagnation once again. I'm not sure just yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's really just no way else to put it. The early expand is so solid on this map. The Hellions control there's not a lot of space to control, but they control that space quite well, especially considering they can run up a ramp to be in the center. I honestly think that if they had to run downhill in mid, they might not be quite as strong. But
yeah,
either way, there's the early expand coming up. And we see Golden building a pool.
Wow.
I think the only real question for aLive is, does he want to go for that traditional Marine tank-based plays we've seen him do so often in the past, or is he going to go for mech?
I think that on this map, I'm personally a big fan of the bio play because, if your opponent wants to traverse past anything that is 3 base, then you can start exploiting them really, really easily by the fact that you have huge mobility and huge drop potentials. And, I mean, a lot of Zergs do want to try and traverse past 4 base, 3 base even, because of just the way in which the dynamics in this matchup work. If you're on 3 base and your Terran opponent's on 3 base, which is very, very likely, then you're not really going to have too much of a good angle to actually deal with what your opponent's doing. So, I like that.
Did you get to see the little worker-killer-worker showdown in the bottom right? Nothing too notable. I mean, it was 1 worker killed off by aLive with an excellent little bit of drone control, and I think that's, again, one of those signals of the mental state of Golden. One of those frustrating, like, I can't believe I lost a worker. It's the thing that can actually cause a pretty painful tumble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's annoying. It's a psychological advantage for aLive. He's like, I killed a worker, nod.
Yeah.
It's really irritating.
And a lot of times we'll mention psychology, how it can have an impact, and then it doesn't. 2 people just play their game out. But I think Golden has been like a prime example of psychology. The last game was a stunning example of choking under pressure. Oh my god, look at this, a second factory. Now that is going to be interesting. We really don't see that get executed on this map because it's quite a bit weaker. There's too many paths to block off. What do you make of this?
Oh, wow. I think he's just going to do exactly what he was doing last game and then traverse onto mech. I mean, one big indicator of that will end up being, when he takes the 3rd and 4th gas geyser, it is natural. But still, it applies for a great transitionary move onto it. And mech still has its place very, very firmly on this map. So, what we were saying about bio before, it has its place. But mech can control the map very, very effectively with middle map, etc.
Yeah, it's one of the few ways you actually can get a not fast 4th, but a safe, sturdy 4th. Center Watchtower, Planetary Fortress, rally with all the big metal units. It's quite difficult to cover that with Marine Tank just because, hell, they're going to be blasting it down with Fungals, really fast Ultralisk and Broodlord tech. All that gets in the way.
Yeah, it really does. And, I mean, aLive could traverse past that very, very elegantly here with the mech play, as he does have the 3 Hellions now on the way with the blue flame. He could even put himself in a position where he does massive damage early on to the point where his opponent just can't come back for him. With Golden's supply blocked right now, and the fact that these Hellions could be on the way pretty soon, then it's so hard to cover 3 bases with like some proper Zerg Sim City or any units even early on.
Now here's something weird. 4th macro hatch thrown down before the layer for Golden. Very, very early macro hatch. And in fact, in the unit counting station, we see that there are 4 queens out, so could use the early creep spread, but now it looks like he wants to go into the straight macro spread. 3rd command center now down for Golden. Looks like he's doing very much so that MVP style of blasting out the mass blue flame and expanding behind it. But, I mean, I'm still wondering how effective it's going to be. I mean, if Golden makes a flood of units, he'll be in good shape. If he doesn't, he'll be in horrific shape.
Well, you're right. I think Golden, from what he's just seen there, he saw like 6 Hellions in the middle of the map. So he should now know that something is up there. Normally, well, I mean, sometimes Terrans do end up going up to like 6 to 8 Hellions off one factory, but the speed at which 6 Hellions have come out is a really big indicator as to what's going on. And now he sees all those Hellions.
Oh my God! Now he sees them. He has 8 Zerglings in production, and that is it. This is going to be a terrible situation. I mean, Golden literally did not see this at all. Drones getting roasted every which way, but the Hellions surprisingly firing in quite bad directions. They're not getting as many kills as they could, but another nice shot. But even with all those misfires, 27 workers killed, James.
Yeah, 27, and off the back of that, it's actually still 41 workers to 46 here. So aLive hasn't really gained himself a massive advantage. He's gained himself an advantage. That's pretty nice to kill off that many workers. Yeah. But still, Golden can keep himself in it for the most part for just a little bit here whilst he gets this 1-1 on the way and keeps droning up. As long as... why won't Zergs learn to SimCity? It's so important. Oh well.
You know, but it's funny because we were talking about all the stagnation on this map, how there's just no... There's no variety, blah, 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 and now there's finally some variety, and I think that Golden was just as surprised as we were about it.
Yeah.
It looks like, a second attempt from aLive is going to get absolutely thrashed. Blue Flame Hellions on creep, not going to be a good life for them, and interestingly, with that early macro hatch in the main, Golden is rebuilding himself at warp speed.
Do you remember that one SCV warrior that killed that drone off at the beginning? He's still alive. He's in his opponent's 3rd base, just chilling out with 1 health. I don't know how.
1 health and 1 notable early game kill. Attaboy, drone. Keep it real.
He's doing all right for him. Oh, well, he died now.
Oh, poor thing.
Oh well, that one Zergling comically just runs up to pick at him. Oh, and our reserver picks it up perfectly. What a good guy. Oh.
aLive is in kind of a funky spot because he really needed to kill off a lot of units. Didn't really do it. And now he's going for the starport. He'll likely go straight ahead for a either Banshees, but certainly at some point in medevac to be able to boost the usage out of those Blue Flame Hellions. But he is pinned on going straight for Thors. Thors have to be his center benchmark unit. So suddenly the Roach has a window to be quite effective. You can't just go straight for tanks in this position.
Yeah, you can't. It gets a little bit scary to do that kind of thing. It's great for the anti-air with the Thors, and I personally love Hellion Thor opener. It's my favorite brand of mech. So as long as it's hard to utilize and it's hard to make it. Oh well, Bungles just caught some Hellions in the middle of the map, and that was pretty horrible for those guys. But yeah, Hellion Thor's cool. I like it. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, Hellion Thor is... I mean, if you go tanks, you just don't have any protection against air, and we can see how in the dark aLive is. Even if you just go and look at the game from aLive's viewpoint, you'll see that he has no vision beyond his bases. He hardly even has vision out into center map. Hive is now en route. 2-2 is also en route, and again, this game is looking quite comfortable for Golden.
I'm surprised that Golden's actually taken the 4th where he actually has. He's basically saying, well, I sure hope that you don't anticipate me taking a 4th anytime soon. And he's just going to try and hide it, which is great against the Thors. It's not so great against Hellions if they want to start scouting around. But it's really going to be up to Golden here to control the middle of the map and make sure his opponent doesn't go on any adventures.
An adventure is a good word to describe the life of a Hellion. You either just waltz straight into something and die and never get to tell the story, or you kill 40 drones and are heralded as a hero of your time. aLive really needs a couple more of those heroes if he wants to be able to stay in this game, however. I mean, this is looking increasingly grisly for our Blue Terran friend, Fnatic aLive. The center of the map is now very strongly held by a Ling Roach force. There's the scam. That's the last thing you want to see, a done hive. Yep. With that Greater Spire so close to being done.
So true, so true. And right now, he was actually building some Banshees to mix into this composition. If you're going to go Banshees with Hellion Thor, you need them early on. They're putting on the pressure with the Hellions in tandem to actually compensate for the fact that you're trying to get this big army up. The Zergling's going for a counter, but they're going to get roasted quickly, and he needs Vikings. I mean, there's no other way to say it, really. He needs Vikings. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty bad for Golden. All of a sudden, this shove forward, Infested Terrans getting thrown down en masse, and Fnatic decides to step right on into things. He's blasting right on through. Golden is looking to be in a terrible position. Can he manage to get this out in time? It's basically just Queens, and maybe these Broodlords, some transfuses keep it alive, but I don't even know if that Broodlord's going to be enough. Roaches arrive at the last second. Oh my god, did Golden hold this off?
Oh, very nice indeed with the Roaches reinforcing here. The last Broodlord goes down, but so too do the rest of the Thors. aLive right now with the 4th command center up and running and on the way. He's going to try and fly it off into the middle of the map to try and claim that base, but I mean, if Golden wants to go for some kind of counterattack here, he can shut this down and still limit his opponent to 3 bases for now. Oh, speaking of that adventure.
Looks like the Hellions heading up to this top right side where Golden did a very smart move. If you're going to be playing the immobile mech style, I'm just going to expand to opposite corners of the map. Right now, it's not working out so well for him, but he's been able to mine an extra few hundred gas from this top base. He'll be able to mine more. Golden has even creeped up the center of the map and has a burrow Ling there. This is looking absolutely excellent for Golden.
Yeah, a Golden with just very well played defense there. I was a little bit scared for aLive in the way in which the Thors were engaging. Ultimately, Thors with 2-2 and 3-3 with Javelin missiles actually do kill Broodlords off pretty darn quickly, but he was focusing on them just too much. One Broodlord isn't necessarily going to do that much damage whilst you have a ton of Roaches barreling down on you. So aLive there, not really doing the most amazing in those engagements, but I mean, he wouldn't have done anyway. It was kind of a sketchy situation for him to be in.
aLive now doesn't really have a lot of options. A lot of players like to push with some Thors, but mainly a heavy Hellion tank plus Viking. That's the ideal end game composition. You have the perfect units against ground, Hellion tank, you have the Vikings to rip apart all of those Broodlords, and as long as you know how to unsiege properly against Ultralisks, you'll be in good shape. However, he's being forced to go for Thor Hellion. He's not quite sure where he's at. If he's in the lead or if he's way behind, he's desperate to get up a 4th base, which we see is already under some heavy fire. Maybe he'll notice and start repairing, but for now, looks like aLive will get to hold on to it for at least a little bit.
41 workers have been killed off right now for aLive, so the 17 of Quantic Golden. He's trying to power down that planetary fortress, but we'll have to pull up for now with those Hellions and Banshee coming along to clear up Roaches. Not something you see too often, but hey, it happens. And 3-3 is going to finish up for Mech soon, so that's a pretty good spot for him to be in. I think aLive from this point on just needs to max out, and
oh yeah,
and that's it. That's all he really has in terms of hope of actually defeating Golden right now.
It looks like he did a smart push. He cleared the way with Thors, and now he's going to try to just take out this hatch from a range with Blue Flame Hellions. Or is he actually going to pull all the way back? In the middle of the map, lot of Broodlords up for Golden, and he's playing this just right. In the early game, he took a far-away base to deal with the mech player because Roaches and Lings were more mobile than a Thor-focused army. But now he just waltzes all these spine crawlers forward around the center and just pollutes any chance of Terran wanting to walk up.
Yeah, there's really no way you can actually shut this down. Few Infested Terrans are on the way up in the top right-hand corner, shutting down some of those, mules. And what I love to see from Zergs now is just Golden send one Broodlord up to the top, and just be really annoying at the planetary fortress. That is like the coolest thing in the world. Position it just above where those infested Terrans are.
Oh yeah.
That's really annoying to deal with.
Looks like aLive's making this big push. There's the fungal right off the bat, and oh my god, Corruption actually doing work on these Thors. The lines of infested Terrans are going to finish up, and look at that +2 attack on them. But aLive is doing an excellent job just letting them target fire down. And we're seeing the Hellions in the back, meaning that no infested Terrans are going to see the light of day. And interestingly, no Vikings needed, sir. He's just using the Javelin missiles.
Yep. Javelin missiles, man, pretty darn good against Broodlords. I've said it time and time again, but we've never really fully seen it too much in pro games. Everyone just goes for Vikings, but if you can get those Javelin missiles up there and rip them out of the sky, just because people, yeah, they get carapace upgrades for their Broodlords, but they really neglect air upgrades for a long, long time. They just focus on their ground a lot, and aLive right now actually doing so much damage at this 4th base.
Wow. I'm almost speechless. He's just doing such ridiculous damage with this force that you wouldn't think so, but he's got to start picking some targets and focusing on them. Right now, he's being drawn every which way. He still hasn't killed off the top right base. His Thors are isolated from his own 4th base. We see that single infested Terran up north has been able to do tremendous damage. I mean, aLive was able to win the engagement. He's killed 71 workers, but he just has no way to proceed forward.
Oh, and those Thors actually could get caught out of location here. Those Broodlords trying to chase them down, but when a Thor gets chased by a Broodlord, apparently no one catches anyone. They're both as slow as one another. So, oh, but Fungals are going to slow them down even more, apparently. All right, chilling out.
Wow. Golden continues to press forward, continues to make lots of Broodlords. Ordinarily, you'd want to be relying a lot on the infested Terrans to deal with the Thors, but there are so many Hellions to back him up. aLive, repair those Thors. Oh god, he needs those Thors repaired. There's a huge death army right on his heels, stepping into the fray.
I think if this is any other map, like for mech, then like say it's Daybreak or Cloud Kingdom, then aLive has a 4th base properly up and running, and he just repops and is in a great situation. But because it's Antigua Shipyard and he's like been predominantly stuck on 3 base, and the way in which Golden's had a little bit of the 4th, if you account for the middle base and the 5th base that I guess he's had up in the top right for a little bit, then you can't combat this amount of Broodlords right now. It's so hard unless they fully clump up, right? Against the Javelin missiles.
Yeah, I mean, if you spread them out, I think you're going to be in excellent shape as Golden, but
yeah.
Ooh, this is a very, very dicey spot to be in for Terran player. He's slowly losing bases. This is one of the reasons why Zerg love getting Broodlords on this map. He's just slowly scooping his way left and right, accumulating more Broodlords. I don't care what composition you're getting. Once he gets a lot of Broodlords up, it's nearly impossible to deal with.
Yeah, there's just... How many do we have out right now? 13, along with 10 Infestors to actually complement. Does he actually have Neural Parasite right now? No, he does not. So he's going to go very Neural Light against this Thor composition, which... I mean, well, everything is being sieged up right now of his... Like, just everything.
Oh, gosh. aLive is just trying to mass up Thors. He has 14 in the Army Supply tab. Fnatic aLive actually does have the lead in supply, but... This is the final moment. Can he manage to win with a Thor-only army? He has so many free creatures wailing away at him. Broodlings, infested Terrans. The Thor count is holding pretty strong. He's actually up at 12. He's doing some damage, but as the Broodlords start to spread out, and as the Hellions start to dwindle, there's no way to deal with the Broodlings on the ground. 10 Broodlords, 7. 6 Thors, and it looks like, wow, after a solid game, after losing tons and tons of units to some initial aggression, there's the good game. It looks like Golden from Team Quantic manages to advance.